Now let's create our application, just an instance based on our application profile. So we are going to right click on our application profile and we are going to generate our XML file. Okay. And here you can also edit your prefixes. For example, DC terms, if you expand here, set as P, so let's change it to DC terms. Again, this is not required. This would simply look nicer and easier for if someone wants to, someone looks at your XML document. This is DC. This is simple, and we're not about Dublin Core types, but VRA. Let's change it to this one, P3 to VRA. And LIDO is set. The reason you are seeing all of these different namespaces that we didn't necessarily include directly, because we include LIDO, VRA, and Dublin Core terms, because these schemas also include other schemas. Therefore, we inherit all of them in our application profile. That is why. So let's finish. So now these are our elements. Let's go to Design tab, and one thing here is, we have title, subject, description, agent, and measurements rep. These are the ones that we set as required elements, and we set inscription as our optional element. So let's add inscription element here as our child element here. Description set. Okay. Other thing is, when you look at these elements, you are seeing some element names here in relatively grayish or green color. These are the ones sub-elements. So you cannot simply put value here directly, but you can put your metadata in those sub-elements. Even if you look at VRA agent set, here we can see VRA agent, and still we have some sub-elements to use. So if you look at our record, we can get our title from our record. So let's copy it and put the information here. For Dublin Core, it's fairly straightforward. We simply pasted the information. For subject, again, we made subject element repeatable, so we can add few subject elements. So let's get our record here, and African American, African diaspora. So let's say let's capture 2 of the subject elements, and we need to add another one. We need to go to our root element, add child and subject. So we can here African diaspora, and you can add other subject elements if you choose so. And for description, let's copy the description information from here, and you see there's this MC and Rebecca Dawson engraved along the bottom brim. So okay, let's get here description. Okay, let's put the information here. And when it comes to agent, if you look at our record, we have our creator name, his cultural information, and his vitals are available. So let's look at that from VRA here. We can have culture, date, name, and role. So we can use all of these sub-elements for agent information. So let's add child. We can use culture. We can use date. And we can use name, and we can use role. So culture, again, you're seeing this text is in black, so it means we can type in our text here directly. And for dates, actually, no, sometimes going away, but we have 2 sub elements. So if you do a right click on dates, you can see add child, earlier date. Now they came up. You see earliest date and the latest date. So we have 2 dates information here. And for the earliest date, again, is 1783. This is circa, and 1850. And if you look at earliest date, 1783, and 1850. And for earlier state, let's see what other attributes available for us, if any. So let's get add attribute and circa. So here we go, and we can capture the information here for name. So let's capture it. Information here, and role as creator, right? Okay. And the inscription information. If you look at here, inscription set, we have inscription and BRA text. This is the inscription text, which is Rebecca Dawson, right? And if you look at here, we have some sub-elements, author and position, so we can use the position information. And let's say bottom rim. So bottom rim, okay. And if you look at the text and we want to capture the language information to write, and whether this text is in English or in a different language, in this case in English, so if you do a right click on text, add attribute, and now we are seeing the language attribute, right, so that we can use. And here the language is EN. So, and lastly, the measurement information. If you look at here, we have measurements set, so let's add that element, set. And measurement set element has display object measurements and object measurements elements. So display is a display information. Again, we can capture the display information actually in this case. And also we can object measurements. Actually, we want to record that measurements information. So object measurements. And if you look at the object measurements, we have measurement set and other sub-elements. But let's put this display information first. We can simply copy that whole thing from here. And because the text is black, so it means we can paste it here directly. And if you look at here, there are different types of measurements. Again, you can look at the documentation, so what kind of information we can place. And when I look at it, we can say that we can use actually measurement set, where we can actually capture this height, width, and probably the depth information. So let's use the measurement set. Okay. And as you see, measurement set element has three child elements: type, unit, and value. So, and they're all here. So basically, type here is, let's say, height, and the unit is in inches, and value is 7, right? And we can basically, this measurement set element is repeatable, so we can come to measurements here and add that measurement set again. And if I click here, so they're all here again. So we have width information and just inches, and the value is 12, and we're going to do it one more time. In this case, I think it's the depth information, although it wasn't mentioned, but they have that value here. And let's say unit is again inches and 5. If you want, again, we can repeat this whole thing, and this time we can capture in metric units, but I'll skip that part. So I think we are done with our application profile basics. Let's save it, and let's try to validate our application profile. Unfortunately, we end up having some errors here, so let's look into the problem, what might be the issue. And let's see. And it says here the VRA inscription is not complete. VRA lang is not allowed appear is not allowed to appear in VRA text. So let's look at these here closely. So it's about the VRA is not complete. Again, we cannot do much about it, but I think it's more about this second part is the source of the problem. And it says VRA colon length is not allowed to appear in element VRA text. Again, if you look at here, this VRA is an identifier prefix, right? It is automatically added by Eclipse to the language attribute. If you look at the VRA element description for inscription, and we see that actually the attribute for language is used as XML colon language. Basically, this attribute comes from original XML schema. Then if you look at the example here, you see the text and the language attribute, you see XML colon language. There is no VRA colon. So VRA was automatically added by the Eclipse itself. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply remove VRA and replace it with XML and save it. And let's try to validate again. So it is not complete. Let's delete this error message. Hold on. And let me try to validate one more time. I should validate. So we fixed one of the problems, but the other one seemed to stay with me. So let's try to validate one more time. Okay. And if you look at the VRA here, I think the issue is about the order. Because the position comes before text, so that might be causing the problem here. And if you look at here, in our case, the text comes before position, because this is what it says here: the content of element via inscription is not complete. One of text is expected, probably is expecting that text element to appear after VRA position. So what we can do is we can go to here and delete the VRA text. It doesn't allow us, but we can maybe move this one up here. Yes, we move the position up. I simply, just move it from down here to up here, and because text is required element. And let's save it, and let's get the source view again. This is how it looks like, but you can change it this way so it looks a bit nicer. So let's save it and validate one more time. Now we are good to go. It was about ordering, so I think we are all set. So our application profile, we create an application profile and create an instance based on our application profile. So that should do it. So when you're creating your instance documents, again, pay attention to these little details. If you run into an error message, try to read them and look at the examples from the documentation associated with these different schemas to make sure you address those potential problems should they appear. Okay, thanks.